Get in, nerds. We're playing Victoria 3. We're going to go back to trying to do a Council Republic. But that's not going to come till after the election. In the meantime, we're still doing pretty well financially, despite the loss of our authority. Very good. Gunnar Benedictson. Gunnar Benedictson is our leader. And he's providing not much authority on account of people don't like him that much. After he fled from the assassination attempt back during the revolution in 1901. But you know, we'll see. We'll see how things go. Maybe he can continue to be a popular revolutionary when the time comes. Alright. Let's take a look around the world. See if anything wild is going on. Great Britain finally worked on getting an empire built over here. There's a revolution happening in South Africa. The South African Proletarian Revolt. That's interesting. France continues to hold much of Eastern Africa. It looks like both countries have been taking small numbers of states over here in Western Africa, but basically the colonization of Africa has been going pretty slowly, which is interesting. India has become the British Raj. I don't want to fight Mecklenburg. An elective dictatorship. Ah, yes, parliamentary republic and autocracy. That's interesting. Let's see. Siam is a British puppet, looks like. Yep. Japan has become a oligarchic presidential republic. That we looked at that before. Interesting total setup. But we're having an event. Rich get richer. Eric Tramp has thrown a soiree for the cream of the industrialists. Bribes, ill-disguised as donations, traded hands into the free-minded Venstre. With your help this coming election, we'll make sure that those machines of yours stay greased and those ports stay open. Only 200 hands were in attendance, yet each clap was a thunderstroke. Ooh, steam turbine. Neat, not going to use that. Yet each clap was a thunderstroke to herald the passage of 1,000 ships. They're likely to spend it all on champagne. That gives us extra momentum. Someone ought to inquire about these donations. I'm going to do that. To slow down the free-minded Venstre, because they're the Industrialists party. And that has moved the free-minded Venstre down in momentum, and given a little bit of extra momentum to the others. Yeah, so we're looking at, between the Communists and the Labour Party, we're looking at a projected 80% of the votes in the government. So hopefully that should guarantee that those two parties are able to stay in power. And then we'll have a small chance. We need 3 more months for another run at Council Republic, but we got 52 days till the election, so I think that's not really going to be a problem. I realize I'm sinking a lot of money into having high bureaucracy, and I do like having high bureaucracy, but I realize I don't necessarily need this much of it. So, the institutions I've got Social Security, workplace safety, education, law enforcement, health system, and home affairs. All of those are institutions that I typically use in the end game. I definitely want education, I definitely want law enforcement. Yeah, I definitely want all of these. I'm going to go up one more level of health system. So, I think at this point, I might be able to work on downsizing some of my government offices. So each government administration is producing 100 bureaucracy. And how much am I getting? I'm getting 10% from middle managers. So, now my total generated is 9.78k. So whatever I do, in case I lose middle managers, I need to use a little bit less than I need. I could probably reduce admin level by maybe 20 buildings. And still be basically fine. So I did just unlock a steam turbine. What that lets us do is that lets us generate a lot more power, but it requires us to use coal for it. And I'm not going to do that because I already have a coal shortage. So, with the government changing hands, it's going to put us pretty much where we are before. We have a large government ideology penalty. If I lose the communists, it'll bring it down even farther, though. And I can't lose the trade unions because I'm a trade union leader. So, that's that. And so when can I take another run at Council Republic? 6 weeks. So we're looking at the middle of August. Cool. Excellent. Really probably the back half of August. But yeah, we're in a good place right now. Only the fascists are... With the Intelligentsia on our side, that's a huge amount of the country's clout supporting the new government. So I'm hoping that that's going to be a lot more able to do what we need to do, and that the revolution, the counter-revolution, will be a lot slower, because I don't really wish to deal with there being a counter-revolution. I need a new admiral for the Baltic HQ. This guy's meticulous and a dockyard organizer and a vanguardist, so I'm going to go ahead and grab him. Give him promotion. And then we need one for the North Germany HQ. This guy's an anarchist. But these guys align with the groups that are kind of against the government, so we'll put this guy in charge. It's only 5 flotillas. Music player, you good to go? Cool. Ooh. And now we have film spreading to us. That's wonderful. What do we have spreading to us in military? Nothing. We are on the cutting edge of military. That's wild. And we got film spreading to us in social. That's very good. That's a better production method for arts academies, which I definitely want to have. So, I think I might... See, there's definitely a part of me that likes just keeping all this excess bureaucracy, because I don't want to build any more. I recognize that it's costing money, but I also don't want to be building up bureaucracy at a time when I need to be, in order to increase trade routes or something like that, because that's a thing that one ends up doing in this game. Belgium has become the United Belgian States, which is fun. A democratic republic. What a cool flag. Parliamentary republic, wealth voting. Interesting. Mercantilism. Protected speech, National Guard. Homesteading. What a curious setup. Oh no, they have no home affairs, but they're working on getting a National Guard. So that's pretty cool. Unemployment's kind of getting up there again. I could go through another round of construction projects. So let's take a look at our market to see what we can use more of. The answer is going to be steel mills. After that, we'll circle back and probably build some more iron mines, but I want to do these first so that we can make sure that we don't wind up in a situation where the government's losing tons of money. All right, time for Council Republic. So as you can see, we have a 100% success chance. This is going to go for like 1.5 years, because it's just about 200 days per step here. But we've got a 100% success chance right now, on account of basically everyone in the government supports the move to a Council Republic. And the movement to preserve the presidential republic does not include either the rural folk or the Intelligentsia this time around, or the Industrialists, interestingly enough. That's curious. They'll probably join it soon. But they're currently working on a movement to enact child labor allowed, which is really curious. So with the counter Council Republic movements sort of split, I think we'll be able to just kind of ride this out. If they all form up together, they should have a total radicalism of 62. I think that's how that works. I might be wrong, though, so don't quote me. Because they've... and a total support of 75. And what that means is that they're not going to be able to progress past 62. So as long as we can kind of blockade them from getting too much revolution progress using with like revolution events, I think we'll be fine. Now I'm keeping in mind though that I said a similar thing during the Pencil Wars, and the Pencil Wars still happened. So don't I could be wrong about that. I'm not as confident this time around as I was back in the 1840s when we were trying to take the schools out of the hands of the Church of Sweden. But a lot has changed since then. We've made a lot of progress as a society, and I'm hoping we'll continue to make that progress. We're still kind of neck and neck with Prussia. And significantly below Austria. We haven't managed to get above any of the other great powers in prestige at the moment. We've got a bunch of things giving us a little bit of extra prestige every once in a while. So, you know, I'm hoping to keep that going, but I think we shouldn't... We're still kind of in a place where we need to continue working on that. So next on the agenda, and this will be a slow process, for economic system we need to move from interventionism to cooperative ownership. That's going to be very good for our standard of living as a whole, because it's cooperative ownership. After that, we can move from homesteading to collectivized agriculture. Similar situation. And then, I think basically that's the whole ball game, as it were. So I'm feeling pretty good overall about this. We've got a solid base of loyalists, and because of our high legitimacy, we're getting additional loyalists every month, and that is keeping our government very strong. We're once again in a convoy deficit, which I don't love, especially because the only places we can build additional ports are places that are kind of maxed out on convoys again. Only now our convoys have fallen back down. I think maybe this situation is that we really need to cut some trade routes. Cut this one from Brazil, even though I need that coal. I think maybe this is a situation where small, low-level trade routes are not useful and are... But you see, they're only using up tiny numbers of convoys. It's really curious. I don't really know what to make of it. I guess particularly in situations where they're going to very distant markets, they're using more convoys. Like this one's pretty low because it's only going to Britain, but you know, this one's pretty high because it's going all the way to Vietnam. I don't know. It's hard to figure out. I'm having a hard time figuring out how to keep it all aligned. I'm just kind of on the cusp of being good with this one. This furniture route's really unproductive. I'm going to cut this one. What about this liquor route? It's not that bad, but I think it's going to go. This meat route is not ideal. Oh man. This oil route's doing really bad, but on the other hand, I really want all this oil. It's basically sucking money out of our economy. France, we have a trading agreement. Well, I don't want to cut this trade route, but I think I have to. Oh, it just increased in productivity. That's... Yeah, I think unfortunately it's going to have to go. The market will just need to tolerate the high oil prices. Because that's... Oh my gosh. France, are you in protectionism? Yep. Gonna have to go. Gonna have to deal with it. So, I think this should mean that my route from Great Britain will be flexing up, because this route's very profitable. Just gonna make sure. 590. Oh my goodness. No. Interesting. But we're actually okay for rubber, strangely enough. A lot of progress to study. Wonderful. So, what's happened is a revolution is taking place in Finland. And because we're the Finnish protectors, we need to help the government win the war against radical Finland, which consists of the Intelligentsia and the trade unions, whereas Finland is ruled by the Finnish rural folk. It looks like this is over a council republic, interestingly enough, which is wild. But it is what it is. I mean, they're my protectorate, so I can't very well abandon them, even though I, too, will soon be a council republic. Unless... Sugar shortage. Interesting. We can produce sugar in farms, can't we? We do have a boatload of liquor. So we change that up. How's the market for fruit? There is none. But there are a lot of people who will buy it. That makes us the number 5 producer of fruit worldwide. So now we're producing a lot of our own sugar. Just gonna kind of have to wait for those trade routes to go up, and that'll hopefully let our farms get profitable again. What do we need to get up to mechanized slaughterhouses? Oh, that costs coal. Gosh. Mechanized farming. Mechanized farming is over here in production. Over here. Yeah. Alright, so we're not necessarily going to concern ourselves with that. So this is going to be a two arms moment, but we could technically sway Prussia, but I don't need that. This is a revolution. We'll be good to go. I'm not going to pay all that much attention to this. We have got, oh boy, we got a lot of events here. Disease among the wounded. France, I don't desire an alliance. The deaths from disease among wounded soldiers has skyrocketed. Imagine a quart. You know how much a quart is, right? No? Well, picture 2 cups of tea. Now imagine instead of tea, they're full of maggots. That's how many we pull out of this one fella after he was left to fester. This is troubling, or we can offload it to the civilian medical sector. I'm going to have to do this, because I don't want to lose that recovery rate. Our fronts have balkanized. The Devil's Paintbrush. General August Nilsson's use of dedicated machine gun teams in the radical Finland-Scandinavian War has yielded advantageous results in the field of battle, leaving full platoons of enemies dead before they've even reached our lines. If anyone had told me that it would be possible to make a gun that would pull a cartridge belt into position, pull a loaded cartridge out of it, move it to the front of the barrel, thrust it into the barrel, close the breech in a proper manner, cock the hammer, pull the trigger, fire off the cartridge, extract the empty shell, and throw it out of the mechanism, feed a new cartridge into position, and do all of these things in a tenth of a second, I would not have believed it. But now I've seen it with my own eyes. So options are August Nilsson's mastery of the tool is unparalleled, or whatever happens, we have got the Maxim gun and they have not. I'm going to go with this one to give August Nilsson a trait permanently. Whatever happens, we have got the Maxim gun and they have not is a famous quote about the machine gun and its role in British imperialism. It's a very interesting story. While we're doing this, I'm going to move one general off of this front just to make sure that things are good. France wants a defensive pact, and it sure would be nice to be in a defensive pact with France. If I find myself in a situation where I have to fight Britain, that would be a problem. But I think I've been doing okay with Prussia, and I can do okay with France too. I'm gonna do it. Now we'll continue to assist our Finnish allies in getting all the things we need to get done. You know, our fronts have gotten a little silly. So we now find ourselves in a silly situation of having multiple fronts that kind of don't make any sense. That's closed off. You went up there. Very good. That's the only place we have additional fronts. We're continuing to push forward down here. The only actual battles happening over here. Finland's barracks are using skirmish infantry and shrapnel artillery, so they're a solid one entire tech level below our armed forces. So I think this war, such as it is pretty much going to be done with. I'm seeing about 15k casualties on our side, and about the same on the other side. So I'm feeling confident that this will be done pretty soon, with a minimum of bloodshed and chaos. I am the primary defender here, but you can't do a manual peace deal in a revolution, as we saw during the War for the Pencils. So I think at this point we're just still relaxing and not worrying about it too much. Now, hopefully, my defensive pact with France will hold for the time when they are ready to themselves become a council republic. Shockingly, Great Britain still seems to be at the point where they're operating a kind of republican government and not a a kind of democratic-republican government, but not moving towards any kind of council-republic situation. But this tends to... Typically, a series of revolutions shoots off in Britain in the first... in the early years of the 20th century. So, I'm curious as to kind of how that goes. We've continued to grow in population since the beginning of the game, and I'm hoping that continues. GDP is still pretty huge. GDP per capita is enormous. We're at number 3, next to Waldeck and Schwarzburg, and no country in the big great powers has gotten close to our GDP per capita, so I'm hoping that continues. Laws progressive voting, very good. We've completed the civil war in Finland, with Finland retaining its position. So I'm feeling pretty good. How much money are we putting into Finland's hands each week? About 11,000. Police brutality. Oh, I dislike this. So, our options here are: we cannot tolerate this behavior, which reduces the institution of law enforcement by 1, makes the rural folk and intelligentsia happy, or the use of force is necessary. It'll make some radical pops in Iceland, but I'm not really worried about that. I'm going to do this, because it's going to make the petite bourgeoisie happy, and I want to keep the petite bourgeoisie happy because I'm doing a big change in the government that they're going to be mad about. So a while ago I was telling you that the petite bourgeoisie tend to align with reactionary forces, and this is what I mean. As soon as you unlock political agitation, the petite bourgeoisie are kind of the basis for the fascist party. They're the ones running it, and they're the ones whose party it functionally is. So that's all I meant by that. I think we can still use more iron, so I'm going to build another round of iron mines. But I think that will essentially max out our iron production. We're doing very well financially, so we can continue to grow with that. Prussia is now a constitutional monarchy, like Great Britain is, but they're still basically a reactionary state. They do have a council republic movement, so I might do I have a defensive pact with them? I guess I don't. I thought I had. Who do I have defensive pacts with? Only France. Prussia must have bailed on our defensive pact, which is sad. Or maybe I only had a defensive pact with them in a dream. Okay. There we go. So there's the revolution. With that having been said, this is a much smaller... So what happened here is the movement against to enact child labor ended, and the Industrialists joined the movement to preserve presidential republic. With that having been said, though, I don't think they're going to be able to stop the Council Republic movement at this late in the game. Again, this is an 8-week cycle, and they get about 10% progress per checkpoint. So they need to get, again, 8 times 10 is 80. They have 80 weeks. They're going to need a year and a half. So they need to stall this for a year and a half, and it has a 72% chance of a success every time we check it. So we got very lucky with the way the movements shifted, but I think we're just about where we want to be with this, and I think if we get lucky, then in another month and a half we'll be a council republic. If we don't get lucky, we'll have to keep working, but that's not a tragedy. None of the groups that are against being council republic are in the government, so their capacity to affect this is pretty limited. Altogether, they're providing a total of a 7% chance of a stall, and they're reducing the success chance from 90 to like 27%. But like from 90 by about 27, from 99 by about 27%. But most of that chance is becoming advanced chance, not stall chance. So I'm pretty confident. And once this gets done, we'll be in a really nice position to just kind of move into a council republic. So, covert agitation. Revolutionary sympathizers have begun to agitate for anti-government causes in the barracks in Norland. The state has forsaken every right it has to order your bloodshed. You must realize this. Even beyond Norland, people like you and I are organizing to demand an end to this nightmare. And it starts with you and I, us common soldiers, the ones they trust to do their will. What will happen when they finally see that no one stands behind them? The armed forces must be loyal to the state above all else. This makes the armed forces happy and reduces the civil war progress. Or those who control the soldiers control the nation. This gives us 5% of servicemen becoming more radical. Reduces the throughput and makes civil war progress. I don't know. This seems like all advantages. So I'm going to go with this. Slow that down. My suspicion is that a lot of these events... are built to put you in a situation where if you wish to, you can kind of side with the revolutionaries, as it were. You can, like, try to enact something really gnarly, and then, like, when the revolution happens, you can flip over to them, and this lets you be in a good position when you do that. I think that's kind of the way it's designed. Unemployment is at 300K. We should probably get working on some industry to build that up, but let's see if this goes first. Excellent. Alright, so now we are a council republic. This means our government is much stronger. Both of these interest groups are very, very salty, but they don't have movement for that. We have a movement for graduated taxation. That's not great for us, so I'm not going to worry about that. Alright, so what do I want to build? I think... Can I build up any more sulfur mines? No. I'm maxed out on that. Can't build up any more logging. I think probably tooling workshops. So where do we have labor available? We've got a bunch available in Svealand, Scania, Götaland. So we'll put a little bit in each of our main places. And then we can get more tools going in Zealand. So that significantly reduces our authority, but now we have the option to change up our laws. Making the change to cooperative ownership will radicalize the industrialists, but if it's only the industrialists, it might not be that big of a deal. Collectivized agriculture, we need collective ownership before that can happen. On the other hand, if we don't have... So one of the things about the situation is we could flip over to technocracy. I don't think I'm going to do that. Oh, the armed forces are against that, so that's not going to happen. There's also the option of a single-party state. I want to stay democratic. Actually, I'm going to just be real with y'all. I want to stay democratic. So, for now, we're going for cooperative ownership. It's going to be a big change in the country. We'll see how it goes. There'll probably be an anti-cooperative ownership movement, but I don't think that'll necessarily get anywhere because it's only going to be one interest group. There's a military revolt happening in Austria that has split Austria down the middle, which is good for us in terms of our great power rank, because it's meant that Austria is all goofed up. Alright, Russia has aligned with Austria and not the rebels. The rebels are a military dictatorship. Austria is a... still an autocratic monarchy. That's really surprising. I mean, I guess that's why they're having revolutions now. There is a preserve interventionism movement, but again, it's pretty weak. Pretty low radicalism overall. So again, I think our movement towards cooperative ownership should be successful. And we're continuing to build... That's what I should be building up. I should be building up synthetics plants. Because we still have... Oh no, we mostly are not getting dyes from abroad anymore. Alright, cool. Let's go ahead and cut all of these dye trade routes. And in fact, now that we're outputting a ton of dye, I actually might be able to be a dye supplier for European powers. Hey, there's film unlocked. Wonderful. So we'll just go ahead and grab our arts academies and move them up to film art. And that means we're making movies. And that's rad. Let's see if I've got enough excess art to export any. Looks like no. Only to America. This is just wonderful. I can't sacrifice my consumption tax on services, so I'm going to have to keep my my authority deficit for now. Again, because Gunnar Benediktsson fled from the counter-revolutionaries during the 01 attempt at revolution, we ended up in a position where we couldn't... where he's unpopular, and so that's reducing our authority. And unfortunately, authority is something we really need a lot of right now, because Council Republic doesn't confer a lot of authority. On the plus side, having a righteous government reduces our enactment time by 25%. So that means every time we're trying to change up the laws, that's going to allow us to go pretty fast. There's definitely a part of me that wants to get all messy and annex Finland, but number one, I can't do that because they're a protectorate. And number two, undoubtedly, now that I'm in Council Republic, some of the great powers in Europe will fight me about that. But again, I'm not going to get all messy. It just is what it is. So far, we've limited our mess to internal politics. And that's just going to be kind of how we do. So we should be able to get some tooling workshops done. Oh, interesting. Discussion, amendment, approval. We have a different setup for Council Republics. That's pretty neat. Once we get this round of tooling workshops done, we should be good to go. Financially, we should be back to being at a good point. Here we go. Here we are. Still spending a lot on it, but it is what it is. I haven't really focused at all on autarky this run, but part of that's just been because I'm focusing on internal politics and not doing colonialism. The United States is trying to regime change Mexico. That's curious. I wonder why. Canada is its own country, but it's still a dominion of Great Britain. The British and French are fighting. Ah, regime change in Zanzibar. I was wondering. I was like, shouldn't I get pulled into that? But no, the French were the aggressors. So, thought and action. You've seen this event before. This is the event where we have to pick whether the armed forces or the Intelligentsia will be mad at us. Looking at their respective opinions, I think they're both really high. So I'm going to lose some favor from the Intelligentsia. Great Britain is experiencing an Afro-Caribbean uprising in the West Indies, the Leeward Isles, I think. I think these are the Leeward Islands, but I could be wrong, but that's what I think is going on. Oh, and also in northern South America, in Guyana. Interesting. They're a constitutional monarchy, a universal suffrage monarchy. That's really neat. You get 'em, Afro-Caribbean Empire. I support you. DegenCat, supporting imperialism, as long as it's of people who have been historically marginalized. So yeah, so we're working on cooperative ownership. We're working on staying a free, peaceful council republic. Yeah, it's 1905 and the world is our oyster. We'll see how things go as we get into the end game. But for now, I've had fun. I hope you've had fun, and I'll see you all on the other side.